Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
So Sam, how's your weekend?
It was good. It was real good. No complaints.
Watch anything new?
Did I watch anything?
Yeah, you did.
I did?
I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts because I did read your review on Letterboxd.
Uh-oh.
And you gave this movie a 1 star.
Oof. Yeah, I figured that's what you were talking about. Yeah. All right, folks, we're going to get into it. We're talking about the to-be original movie, Shark Side of the Moon.
Oh, it's such a great title.
It's such a great title. Oh, but I found out that they ripped it off.
Really?
Yeah, that's the title of some like Nat Geo documentary. It's only like half an hour long or something like that.
Well, what's the Nat Geo documentary about?
I don't know. I think it's just sharks during nighttime. I don't know. Because if you type in Shark Side of the Moon, 2 entries pop up, and the first one is the Nat Geo doc.
Okay, so we're gonna have to watch that doc. Tell us, Sam, what was Shark Side of the Moon, the film?
In a word, disappointing. Man, and this sucks because like I don't like talking smack about movies. I don't like talking down about movies, you know, but there's something about movies that just like you have the potential. You have the potential to be so good, to be so great. It's not even like this is going to be a 5-star picture. It's just that you have the potential to be so bad it's good. You know, that's I think the baseline quality that we should be shooting for with these movies. And unfortunately, that's not this movie. It's bad. In a nutshell, secret Soviet experiments that I don't know somehow vaguely made like man sharks and gave them like increased intelligence and all that. They get out, they go bonkers, and they get led into a spaceship, and that spaceship gets shot to the moon, where supposedly they're gone forever. We'll never see them again. Cut to the present day. Team of astronauts go up to the moon. They get stranded there, and lo and behold, an entire race of shark people are there, and they're trying to steal their ship to go back to Earth. Nice. Yeah, it's just weird. I feel like here's the thing, because the movie itself is nothing. Like there's really nothing in it. So what I want to focus on are like the things that I think made the movie wrong. Mm-hmm. Which I feel like is sort of the thing when it comes to like these like really low budget productions. You know, it's like we're just trying to turn out movies. You know, we're turning them out. You know, just to put content out there, just to put our names out there. You know, just to do anything. And so there's like you know, I guess there's not an incentive, you know, to really be, you know, good. But what if you were? What if you tried? You know, because like one, there's a bunch of characters in this movie. You don't need all of them. You could easily cut the cast down in half, and I think it would be better. 2, you don't show us the whole going crazy, the sharks getting out in the beginning and getting led to the rocket. You don't show us that. You just start the movie where astronauts are going up to the moon and get stranded, and then what the crap, shark people? You know, like it's these little subtle ways that like it's like really just feels like it was a first draft, and then we just built on top of the first draft, but we didn't change anything. Mm-hmm. We just added to the first draft, you know. And so I feel like if you break it down, and then you can do other stuff. Also, I do feel bad because I did start following a lot of the people involved in Shark Side of the Moon, and now I'm giving a bad review. And I feel bad, but also hopefully this like pushes people to also go watch Shark Side of the Moon. One, because I need people to watch this just so I don't feel alone. I feel alone in this, and I need you all to go watch it. If the Draft House wants to sponsor any like Shark Side of the Moon watch parties, I will happily like do that for you guys. Not for free, of course, obviously, but you know, we'll make a party of it. You know, they have weird little hats that characters wear in the movie. We could all wear weird little hats while we're watching Shark Side of the Moon. Also, this movie feels longer than it is. Feels like I was watching it for 3 hours, and it's only like an hour and a half.
Hmm.
Also, like, well, that might be just because Tubi also has commercials, but the commercials weren't nearly as long to justify like it being 3 hours long. So I don't know. The pacing was weird.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer, man. And it kind of came out super fast, you know? Like, we just saw the teaser trailer real quick and, like, oh, this looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And how quickly our dreams crashed and burned.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there should be room for modestly budgeted like B pictures. And this is what could have been that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like like the premise is there. You just need the right team. You just need the right team. Also, one, you also need the money, to do it. But yeah, it's like if you have the passion for Shark Side of the Moon, if you give me the assignment, Sam, I need you to make a movie with sharks on the moon, it would be like, done. Here we go. Pull out a binder and they're just gonna start going. It's like yeah, like let's make like a movie. Let's make like a B picture. Let's make it solid. At least something that would be like the Sunday night, showing, or not Sunday night, sorry, like the Saturday night premiere on the OG Sci-Fi Network, you know. And I'm not just
So
talking
what
about
you're saying,
Sharknado,
it's no Sharknado.
it's no Sharknado. It's not,
Wow.
but maybe it should be. Maybe we should aspire to return to that sort of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that sort of thing. Like what we really need, we need like a Roger Corman style producer, who's just like, hey, I got X amount of money. I need you to make this movie. Go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do that. And but really like cater to and like make sure it's like you're still making pictures. You're
Mm-hmm.
still making a movie, You don't just want to make a Wikipedia article that's like, well, checking off like, well, how did the sharks get on the moon? How did they do that? Well, okay, how did you survive on the moon for so long?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Damn.
make movies, not Wikipedia articles. Yeah, throw that on a bumper sticker.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, last night it was long overdue, but I finally sat down and I watched Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Ooh, how's that?
It was so good.
Mm.
Like, I don't know why, just life happens and then everything with the pandemic and stuff. Like, I don't know why. I just never watched that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because what? It was 2020, I think.
Yeah, it was supposed to
Yeah.
come out then.
Yeah. And yeah, there's even a scene where they go to the future and it's set in 2022. I'm like, oh God.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, it's a Bill and Ted movie, There's it's not going to be this 5-star Oscar winner. We know that. But it's fun. It's great to see Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter back in those two characters again. And like this movie, I think because it's decades later, they're so much older and they have more experience. There's like this just overall feeling of positivity with this movie. And it was like, and if you think about it, they were filming all of this before the pandemic. So there's no way they could have predicted that. But
Right.
it's just like, it just feels like something we needed at the time. And even now, right now in 2022. So I don't know, maybe it was just politics or the way of the world, but when they returned to this film franchise, which they didn't have to, they decided to go a more positive route. Especially in a world where we're going to do things more gritty. We're gonna make it more real. It's like they were just positive,
Hmm.
So that was cool. And I like it because they're older now and basically, they're two guys who never grew up, and they're having marriage issues, and that's kind of a big part of the core of their story arc. So I guess in that sense you could say it's more quote unquote grounded, like they actually
Hmm.
have real world problems to face.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was just the overall positivity. It just brings everything together. And I have to rewatch the first two because I don't know if it's better than the first one, but I do
Hmm.
know the first two films they're kind of dated. There's a couple jokes that don't land as well anymore.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the best part of the movie though were the daughters.
Hmm.
They just totally stole the show, and like I would be down for a spin-off, just them, you know. But yeah, and like I don't know, it captured it, and this is what I'm saying because like Bill and Ted are on their own journey, their own excellent adventure, and the daughters Billy and Thea are on their own journey. And like the daughter storyline was kind of better. Like it
Hmm.
had more of the OG film vibe, a lot of the historical stuff, which that was pretty much what made the first Bill and Ted so like classic. So these two like goofball losers stumbling around in the past, meeting all these historical figures. It's just so much fun in that, and I think that's where the second one kind of got lost a bit. The
Hmm.
second Bill and Ted, it's still all right, but you lose the historical side of it, which
Hmm.
really added to like the insanity of the movie and just how ridiculous it was. So the fact that they get back to that a little bit in this one uh is pretty cool. That was pretty rad. I like that. And yeah, I kind of cried a little bit at the end. It was just like, yeah, they have to write the song that's going to unite everyone. And yeah, it was cool. So I highly recommend Bill and Ted Face the Music. Um Solid 4 stars from me. But I
Nice.
mean, I'm going to be honest, like I straight up gave him 1 star just for nostalgia. I'm just like, you know what? It's good. And like all the cast is back.
Mm.
I believe the director too, like the guy who directed the original, directed this one.
Hmm.
The dad, the stepmom, like everyone
Oh
from the first
wow,
two movies, like they're here. I'm
that's
like,
really
oh,
cool.
that's so cool. I love it. William Sadler, he's back as Death. I'm
Mm.
like, he's awesome. You love that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So that's how I spent my evening last night.
Mm.
I completely forgot to watch Lost until I got your text this morning. I was like, oh wow, that's right.
I almost texted you last night too. I was like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, maybe I should text. Nah, it's okay. He'll remember.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I texted you later today. I was like, just to be clear, we are we are
Mm-hmm.
doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just watch Lost for the sake of it. I mean, I will,
Yeah.
but
But I
you
mean,
know,
if that was the case, we would have finished it a long time ago.
exactly, exactly. And
So,
I only will for episodes like this.
so let's see. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
This time we're talking about season 3, episode 20, The Man Behind the Curtain. As Ben takes Locke to visit Jacob, he also reminisces about that time he murdered all of the freaking Dharma Initiative.
That's
Now, before we
a
get
big
in,
spoiler, Like, I can't
hey,
believe
you got to
somebody
watch the
wrote that.
episode already. So, we're long past our amateur days where we're just breaking down the whole episode beat by beat. So, a little behind the scenes fact: between the last episode and this one is when they made the official announcement that Lost was ending in 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was a big moment because everyone's like, "Oh man!" Some people are like, "We're getting that many 3 more years of this show,"
Hmm.
and other people are like, "Yeah, we're getting 3 more years of this show."
Hmm.
But also just the idea that like ABC said, "You know what? All right, you want to end date? Let's do it. Here, we're going to give you the money. You end it on your terms."
Mhm.
That was historic, especially considering the way the show came to be in the first place, which we've already talked about that two,
Mhm.
levels of exhaustion. Um, but yeah, that was wild. They're like they were greenlit for 3 more seasons.
Dang.
Yeah, so with that in mind, then we get to this episode.
I
What are
feel
your
like,
thoughts?
well, firstly, like hearing that, it kind of really makes like what happens at the end of this episode, uh, just sort of like, I don't know, like it kind of puts it into perspective because it's like, whoa, that's like one, cool, we're getting 3 more years, but there's a definite end, an end in sight.
Mm-hmm.
But then also just like with the way this episode ends, like it definitely feels like this is like finale making. This is, I think people might not come back from this. Like actually like
Mm-hmm.
not just people who were side characters and who had the potential to be more, but never got that potential. Like no, like these are people we've been since day one on the island. I don't think they're all gonna make it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, yeah, like that sort of is like thrown into perspective here. Um, I will say, brilliant episode. Love it. Love the things that are going on. Um, I I think I can say now with my whole chest, full conviction, I hate Ben.
Oh man, I know.
I hate Ben so much. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not even a love to hate Ben. It's just like,
Mm-mm.
no, I straight up hate this man. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. Uh, just here's the thing. I feel like this episode needed to be longer because I needed more context. I needed more, not necessarily like more reasons for why he kills everyone at Dharma, but mostly just like I needed more time with him just sort of living there,
Mm-hmm.
like and just like seeing things like I really liked Annie. We never saw what happened to Annie. Are we just supposed to assume that Annie died there too? Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I get like this episode was more about like Ben, like the steps that led to him, like being on the island and then like doing everything he does to Dharma. But it's like you also threw in this character who more than anybody else on the island that we'd seen is very sympathetic towards him, and who cares about him without any strings attached.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then just to like straight up not include that character at the end, like that just felt kind of weird, So I'm hoping we get something with her later,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. It was just it like typical Lost fashion. We got so much with this episode and like so little, like not enough.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
actually this is the first time we get to see Dharma like in its heyday.
Hmm.
That was so cool just watching that, seeing everything. I even wrote on my notes. I'm like, hey, Dharma looks kind of fun.
Right.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm also interested because this really focused on Ben's relationship with his dad, which is totally understandable why he murders him. But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to see his or his relationship with everyone else,
Hmm.
on the island, and including Annie, including Horace, the guy who brought them there,
Hmm.
and including Richard.
Yeah.
Richard shows up as a native, one of the hostiles.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. Like
Hmm.
I'm curious to see because it seems like there's a big gap because like his flashbacks goes from when he's a kid to basically almost he's like an adult now.
Hmm.
And I want to bridge that gap, because that one ended where he meets Richard and then it comes back where they kill everyone. So I'm like, what happened in between there?
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm. And like you said, it's just like typical Lost fashion. We're getting so many like whoa, like this is crazy. Like Richard, he's a quote unquote native of the island. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's one of the hostiles that Dharma is fighting against. Also, like Dharma's in like a full-on war with these people.
Yeah.
You know, we see young Ben in class, and then the alarms start going off, and the teacher pulls out a rifle, you know, in like in the classroom,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and we see all the people running outside with guns, and you're like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, what are these people doing? Like, like we're getting all this information that's just leading to more questions. And I texted you this morning as well. I was like, I'm now starting to worry that all of my questions are not going to be answered. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that that's probably not the point of the show, but I still want to know.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem a lot of people were having as the show was airing, and
Yeah.
they stopped watching throughout the years. Um, yeah, it's like your your questions are answered with more questions, and
Hmm.
it's just a crazy. This show is a wild rabbit hole.
Hmm.
Um, and let's not forget to mention that Richard doesn't seem to age.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He looks exactly the same when Ben's a kid.
Hmm.
I'm like, hmm,
Hmm. Which like, well, like, what's that about? You know,
yeah.
is this like a Dorian Gray situation? Is he like a weird vampire? Like, what's is he drinking from the fountain of youth and
Mm-hmm.
nobody else is? Like what's happening?
Yeah. Damn. I don't know, man. Um, God, I don't even know what to say about this episode. I love Locke, man. Locke is on his A game, man. He's outsmarting Ben. He's seeing through all his BS.
Hmm.
He's even getting kind of cocky about it. He beats the living hell out of McKell, who no one knew was alive. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, all right. It
Hmm.
wasn't just us. Uh, and then Ben takes him to see Jacob in this island also happens to have a creepy cabin. Like, Ben, you couldn't have taken me here during the day.
Hmm.
I was like, what is this Fortnite? Like, what else is on this island? Like hatches, neighborhoods, a second island. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, this is like the proto Fortnite map.
Sharks with tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
polar
Mm-hmm.
bears,
Three-toed statues.
three-toed statues, smoke
Mm-hmm.
monsters, the
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Oh man.
Okay.
Okay.
Was I going crazy? Or did when stuff started going down in that cabin, was there somebody in that chair?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like for one split second, there was someone in that
Hmm.
chair. Like,
It's like for like frames. It's like for like half of it's like for 12 frames. There's a person in that chair, and then it
mm-hmm.
cuts to something else, and I'm like, wait, what? What was that? Who was that?
Mm-hmm.
I Oh man, oh
That whole scene
boy.
was crazy because like it's not beyond believability that Ben would pull some shit like that. Talking to an invisible
Absolutely.
chair, like a visible person in a chair.
Yeah,
He's right
absolutely.
here, Locke. Why can't you see him? Uh-oh, I
Mm-hmm.
guess you're not special. But then things start getting weird.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for like, well, one, Jacob supposedly speaks to Locke.
Mm-hmm.
All he says is, help me. Ben doesn't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And things start going crazy. And for, yeah, like that split second, you see someone's actually sitting in the chair. I'm like, oh man, things are flying across the room. And like Locke even books it. He's like, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next day, he doesn't really believe it. He's like, I don't know. It's some kind of theatrics, or he still
Mm.
doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then Ben, and that's the reveal in the flashbacks that Ben helped kill all of Dharma. And Ben shoots Locke and leaves him in the pit to die.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that guy didn't just murder Locke right there. He leaves him to die slowly. So
Yeah.
hopefully Locke can come back from that. But it's very telling that Jacob decided to talk to Locke and
Mm-hmm.
not Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the B plot is they reference it real quick with Ben, but like he doesn't realize that the recorder's gone missing.
Oh yeah.
But nope, Sawyer shows it to Saeed and they show it to everyone, and they're like, okay, Juliet's not on our side. And then Jack and Juliet show up. Where did you get that? I asked first. You need to trust me.
Well, looks like we've got some catching up to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jackson.
Just
We
talk to people,
do.
man. Like I think he's gonna pull something out. Like I didn't want to. Because basically in this episode they reveal that they know the others are coming the day after tomorrow. Is that what they said?
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm gonna believe that like whatever they're planning, it's gonna be to like trap or fight back or escape something. They're planning something. Jack and Juliet, and whatever it is, Jack doesn't want to tell anyone else because it might tip off the others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, I guess that makes sense, but like, dude, you we gotta live together or we're gonna die alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're doing, Jack. Like you're separating everyone by
Mm-hmm.
being quiet. You need everyone to work together
Mm-hmm.
to survive.
And he's like, I don't know where his head is at, because he even straight up tells Saeed that he didn't give any information. He didn't tell anybody because he didn't think it was time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like,
It's just
dude,
so arrogant,
yeah,
you know? I'm
yeah.
like, dude.
It's like he's still upset that he got the chance to leave taken away from him, and now he's taking it out on everyone else. You
Yeah, that's what
know?
it kind of feels like, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's this pettiness that he's just, like, I had the chance to leave, I had the opportunity to leave, and now
Hmm.
we're gonna be,
If
you
I'm
know,
stuck here, we're gonna do it my way.
exactly, yeah,
You know, I'm like,
just
it's a Jacktatorship.
and I'm not having it.
See, like at least with Rick Grimes, you're on Rick's side because you see his point. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when they're in when they first get to Alexandria and like they don't know how to survive in the outside world. They don't know how to survive outside the walls of Alexandria. And they keep screwing up getting in Rick's way. And that's when he has the line, the one of the real last good lines from that show. Oh shit, what is it? I don't remember. How many of you do I have to kill for you to understand? I'm
Mm.
like, oh man, because he's doing everything to protect them. Um, and that's when we get the Ricktatorship. Jack should take some notes from Rick Grimes.
From Rick Grimes.
You know, Rick goes through the gauntlet, man. He has a crazy story arc, but
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. What would this show be like? It look like if Rick Grimes was on the island.
Oh my god. Well, okay, hang on. Is Rick Grimes in Jack's role? Is Jack not here?
Uh no, I would love it just if Rick was an extra character.
If Rick was just an extra character, none of this would happen. I mean, one, I feel like he'd straight up like, oh, Kate's a criminal. All right, you know, gonna go on that, because that's
That'd
the
be
whole thing,
interesting.
man. Rick's journey leads him to like stop being the cop, stop being like this, because he kind of just feel like uh just this sort of like it feels mean to say, but like he feels like this weak man, this meek character, when we first meet him. And all through like the first like two seasons, I feel like even though he's faced with these tough decisions and people are looking to him to lead, they're really only looking to him to lead because he's the law. He's law enforcement, you know? They're still
Hmm.
clinging to the vestiges of society. And it's not until we keep getting further in the journey, and we see that, like, oh, here are the other people who are clinging to society in all of the wrong ways. And we start to see like Rick is actually looking out for people. He's
Mm-hmm.
looking to help people. And that's where he really stops being the sheriff and he starts being the leader,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because like you say meek, but I think he's just a good man who doesn't really understand like the new world order,
Mm,
you know? And I think see, but that's why those first two seasons as still, I mean, the show is very ups and downs. I really didn't enjoy it.
hmm
But the really interesting thing about those first two seasons is Shane,
hmm
because he's someone who does understand the rules of the new world, but he's not really a good guy. You
hmm
know, so it's the two polar opposites. And unfortunately, it's Rick having to start losing everyone where he becomes more morally gray. And it's once he enters that morally gray area where he becomes the leader. So it's
hmm
definitely what you were saying that like he's still trying to stick to the law. He's the law, but so is Shane. And
hmm
Shane dropped that almost immediately. You know,
hmm
he dropped the law. So all in all, I think Rick would have a very similar journey as Jack, but Rick would just be better at it.
Well, also it's like if 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 Rick is on the island, he becomes the leader.
Oh, for sure,
Because
because the whole thing is like Jack's the de facto leader. He doesn't want the responsibility.
exactly. Exactly. And it's all, like part of the reason why is because Mars, Edward Mars is dead.
Mm-hmm.
He dies on the island. Like if like so really it's like we're asking like if Edward Mars had lived, would he be the leader of this island? Yeah, absolutely
Well,
he would.
I've been thinking about that because we mentioned that back in season one. I'm really curious what like a law enforcement person, what that influence would have on this island.
Hmm
But Anna Lucia was also a cop, and we saw what happened with her.
Yeah.
You know, came a point in time when no one was listening to her because she kept screwing up. You know, so because I was curious, I'm like, what would be different if Edward Mars had survived? Because just because
Okay.
you're law enforcement doesn't mean you know how to survive. It doesn't mean you know how to get people to work together. You know?
Okay. That's true. But you also have to look at the different types of law enforcement officers we're talking about here. Anna Lucia, she's she's street cop, you know? Like so, and we already saw that she had all of these other problems. She had all of these factors in her where like she didn't feel good enough, like she never felt like she was the great cop, that she could be all this stuff. Like she's carrying all this baggage with her, you know. And so when she's forced, into that situation, again, she's the de facto leader for the other side of the island. We see the pressures on her. Also, it's like apples and pears with those two situations, like we said.
Yeah,
So it's like
that's
Anna
true.
did Anna did the best that she could with what was going on.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
I don't think anybody I think everybody else would agree, like with the same thing. You're
Hmm.
looking at, the beach goers, like the beach party. Uh, Edward's there, like if Edward's there, he's a marshal. And he, like, we've seen several times where he's working with people, he's working with other law enforcement, he's working with people hunting down Kate. And we see how well he is at manipulating Kate, or at least talking to Kate, getting like figuring out who Kate is, what she's going to do. So that means he can manipulate people to do the things. I'm not saying that he would be a good leader, but I'm saying that he would be a leader, maybe sort of similar in a sense to like kind of what Ben is, you know?
In my alternate my AU canon, he would be the one who gets killed by Ethan.
Instead of
Yeah,
Steven or Steve.
because because that's the thing. Okay, well, if he's not a good leader, why is he in charge?
Yeah.
Saeed's not going to follow Edward Mars.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to treat Kate like a prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to treat Sawyer like a prisoner. You know, he's just going to beat the crap out of him. Saeed's not going to go for that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Locke isn't going to go for that. Like, I don't think there's any world where people are going to follow Edward Mars.
Yeah.
Now, once Claire gets kidnapped or once that all that stuff starts happening, he's got the guns. He's going to lead a group. He's going to go after whoever's out there. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think one that'll make him the biggest threat, and I think he that is a much that force of nature in the survivors to hand out guns and to go lead them on a hunt is a lot more dangerous than what we actually had in the show, where
Mm-hmm.
Jack was very conservative with who he gives guns out to and all that stuff. That's why I think Ethan would just straight up go for Mars.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
More than likely.
he didn't have to kill Scott or Steve. You know, he could have killed
Mm-hmm.
anyone. It's just he
Oh,
was probably the easiest.
yeah.
You
It
know,
was
so
Scott.
he
That's what
would
it was. Yeah.
yeah he would go for Mars.
Mars. Yeah.
Yeah. Also because everyone loves Kate. You know, and to see this marshal treating her like that, prisoner or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really interesting. I'm gonna write this fanfic. What if Rick Grimes was on the island?
Okay, yeah. So then to that end, it's like I think, Rick isn't gonna have the same journey he has in Walking Dead, but he's gonna have a journey of similar, of like the
Mm-hmm.
morally gray.
Mm-hmm.
Especially once it starts getting longer and longer and all these different things are happening, it's like, yeah, there's polar bears, there's smoke monsters, there's all these unexplainable things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know. I could definitely see like maybe like a sharing of duties, between like Rick and Jack maybe, but
It would be more of like a not democracy, but more of like a round table.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think Rick would see the others as equals, you know, and he would definitely bring everyone to the table. You know,
Oh my god, this is
Jack,
perfect.
Saeed, Sawyer. He would
Uh-huh.
eventually warm up to Kate, but he's gonna keep his eye on her because she's a criminal.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man, you just said round table and instantly I just had like the image of like people like standing in a circle, with Rick talking blah 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 and all that stuff, and then Hurley being the one to make the connection because he was reading the Spanish edition of the Justice League comic. It's like
mhm.
it's like, dude, like the Justice League. Yeah, man. Like you got you got Superman over here. He points to Jack. He's like, you got Batman. He points to Sawyer. Although no, he'd probably say like Aquaman or something. And like, depending on the 2000s, I'm trying to remember who's on the team. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, hmm.
this is great.
Yeah.
He's like Wonder Woman, and yeah, of course it's Kate, and she's like, what? Like, oh, sorry, never mind.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Well, guys, join us for our spin-off show where we compare Lost and The Walking Dead. We're going to talk about what would Lost be like if
If every
Daryl
character on
Dixon
Walking
and
Dead,
Michonne were on the island.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
How would the survivors of the crash, how would they respond to the governor and Negan?
Oh, geez. Oh, so okay. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're going both ways now.
We're going both ways. It's like
Okay, so
how,
well,
yeah.
let's do some homework because what did I tell you? Once this season's done, I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you.
I don't remember.
Oh crap, we both forgot. I gave you homework. I was like, okay, once. Well, I gave both of us homework. I was like, after season three's done, let's talk about. Shoot, it was several weeks ago. I forgot. Okay, well, I'm gonna give us a new homework assignment.
Okay.
I mean,
Add it to the other one.
we could talk. Well, yeah, we don't remember that. We could talk
Yeah.
about it now, I guess. But we could talk about it next week or whatever. But what? I guess I don't know. Trope do you wish was on the show? I mean, because when the show starts, everyone was like a stock character. Okay, you have a criminal, you have a doctor, you have the former soldier. You know, Hurley. He's like the lovable guy, but he's also like the rich guy.
Hmm.
What would be interesting like combinations to have on this island? Because I remember like when Sons of Anarchy was starting, I was like, huh, I wonder like if Opie or one of the biker gangs, like what if one of them was on the island? What would they do? Michael
Mm.
Schofield from Prison Break, what would he do on this island?
Hmm.
And then like today, what about Rick Grimes? Michonne, she was a lawyer. How would a lawyer approach this situation?
Hmm.
So just kind of think about that because I'm kind of curious, like what other I guess you can start with the occupation, start with the trope of the character, and then you could build it from there. But like, what other person would you wish was here?
Hmm.
Because I would like to see like an author or someone, but we all
Yeah.
know the author was killed unceremoniously in the first episode when he gets sucked into the turbine.
I know.
I'd say an actor, but technically Nikki was an actress.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, like a movie star or someone,
Yeah.
which kind of has the Charlie thing, but like he's like the has-been rocker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just yeah,
Hmm.
just think about that. Like
Yeah. No, even Walking Dead. Wasn't one of the guys like a football player?
well, in the comics, Tyrese was a professional football player.
Yeah.
They never mentioned that in the show though.
Oh, I thought they did. I thought they like mentioned it once.
I don't know, maybe towards the end, but like
Mm.
cuz like that was back Tyrese was back when I was still watching the show, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I
And
remember.
I don't remember them ever doing that.
Mm.
And that's something I'm kind of interested in too. That's kind of actually what got me started about this. Like, what would like a quote unquote movie star do in the end of days? Like, and I don't want it to be like ambiguous because even Tyrese, Rick recognized him
Hmm.
because Rick likes football. No one else
Hmm.
knew, you know. In the show, they have this one character played by what's his name? Ryan O'Neal, the guy who played Opie in Sons of Anarchy. He's in Walking Dead.
Hmm.
He plays major antagonist, and it's kind of revealed later. They don't exactly say who, but there's a lot of things pointing that like he was a major like country star,
Oh,
and
interesting.
yeah, I mean, he wears a mask the whole time, so no one really knows. I was like, no, man, just throw someone in. If you watch, what's the war movie, the Coppola one, Apocalypse Now? They have like a pro surfer in their squad, and everywhere they go, like the soldiers recognize him, and that's where the whole scene with Robert Duvall comes out. He's like surf or fight, so he gives the
Mhm.
guy the board. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of interesting, like to have a famous person with you to see can they step up or not, you
Yeah.
know? Uh,
Okay.
yeah. Back
I
in the
like
day
that.
when the show was airing, my main thing was what would Laura Croft do on this island? Because that was like, man, talk about Tomb Raider Legend. I forgot the next one because I never played Tomb Raider when like the original ones. It was like once it got like a little better graphics and stuff. That's when I
Yeah.
jumped in, and that was like the mid 2000s.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
what about a Boy Scout?
What if Russell from Up was lost on the island?
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
You're a little Boy
we
Scout.
totally like just glossed over that, but I did kind of freak out when young Ben goes out into the jungle, comes meets Richard, and Richard's just like, "Are you okay? Are you lost?" It's like,
Oh,
he's like, "Oh,
that's why
oh,
this they call the
oh."
show this.
Yeah, I don't need to watch
Oh,
anymore. Click.
he's done.
No, like it really, like honestly, it was like those moments in like when we're reading game like the Game of Thrones books, and whenever any character drops the Song of Ice and Fire, you're like, wait, what? And then you like
Mhm.
start paying, you lean in, like you sit up straight, you lean in more. If you're like me, you underline that and be like, why did they drop this
Mhm.
specifically here? This
And you know
means
why,
stuff.
Sam?
Oh
Because
my
the
god.
books are masterfully written, unlike the television show. But I don't want to
Hmm.
get into that.
Oh man, what would I'm trying to think.
Who would do crazy? What would Samuel Tarley do on this island?
Man, I was trying to think of like bad characters. So
A bad character?
what if the bad Greyjoy guy from like the last two seasons was on this island? What would
Mm,
that, because
hmm
they just threw that guy in there for
hmm
some reason.
or here's the big one. What if all the Starks were on the plane? They're going on a family vacation. How would
Uh-huh.
they get, divided up? Which ones would the others take?
Uh-huh.
Sansa would totally be like, "Take me. I just want a comfortable bed." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're all in their season, if they're all in their book one mindset, then yes, yeah.
I don't know.
But we're not gonna get into that.
Oh God, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Follow us up for our other
Other
podcast
podcasts.
where we
Yeah.
exclusively talk about Game of Thrones and how
And
badly,
Lost.
yeah, and Lost,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's kind of cool the way you said that, like how so much is written about a song in Ice and Fire, but also so little. So
Hmm.
anytime it gets brought up in the books, like just like you said, you start paying attention. You're like, oh, this is the real deal. We're getting
Hmm.
into it now. This one sentence, we're getting into it. You
Yeah.
know, ah, God, it had so much potential.
Hmm.
So much potential.
Hmm.
I just come on, two more books, Martin. At least one more. Get the next one out. Come on.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't even remember who's alive and who isn't because it's so different from the show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. It's like, damn, and like, am I okay? When they announce, like, when they actively announce and say, "Hey, it's coming," and not just like it's coming. It's like, here's the date.
Yeah, you need the release
Once we
date.
know the date, I'm going to reread the last book.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
that's what the
Just
wiki is for.
nah,
That's a
no.
huge book. Well, look, if you want to take on that
Maybe I'll
challenge,
listen to it. How about that? I'll
okay,
listen to
if
it.
you want
I'll
to take
do
on that
audio.
challenge, go for it. I'm not going to stand in your way. I
Yeah.
support everything you do.
I mean, obviously,
I
you
ain't got
support me
time for that.
watching Shark Side of the Moon.
Yeah,
I could
I
have
don't
been
have that
watching
kind of
something
time.
else.
Even at work, when I have tons of time to just listen to stuff, I don't want to listen to that. I'm going to listen to something that I really like have fun with. So, uh, ay.
Ay,
Um,
ay.
yeah. So I guess lastly, since we're kind of done talking about Lost at this point, I have been listening to some podcasts because I do work in a warehouse most of the time by myself. So I either crank up my music, and then after lunch I put a podcast on or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, I do not know how to say her name. It's
You should probably try and figure that out before you.
YouTube or the internet says it's Anne Gary Rice. She plays the little blonde girl in the Spider-Man movies who dates Ned in the second one.
Oh, okay.
Liz? Betty.
Betty.
She plays Betty in the Spider-Man movies. Internet says it's pronounced Anne Gary Rice.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with that. Miss Rice, if you're listening and I got that wrong, blame the internet. But she has a podcast. She has a bookstagram. So she's since me and Sam, we work in the book industry. Let me make this sound really fancy. Sam and I, we work in the industry of books.
Oh, yes, verily. Tut,
Yes,
tut. Mm.
mostly in the distribution. I don't know. I was just trying to make that sound
The
fancy.
distribution of the bound form of vegetables of trees, their skins bound in the
Me and
hides of
Sam
cows.
ship tree corpses for a living. We do a lot of shipping and receiving for bookstores. But anyway, so we kind of have our eyes on bookstagrammers, which are people just on Instagram who whole account is based off of what they're reading.
Yeah.
especially because I don't have time to read. So I want to see what everyone else is reading. Anyway, Miss Rice has one, and she has a podcast.
Hmm.
And so I'm kind of going in and out. I'm kind of catching up. She has an episode. I haven't got to it yet, but it's all about literature in the world of Harry Potter
Huh.
and slash or the lack thereof. And I'm like, oh,
Ooh.
that's really interesting. You know, I know a lot of
Interesting.
people, we have a lot of mixed feelings about the world of Harry Potter. Well, at least, yeah, the author of Harry Potter right now. But in the
Hmm.
world of Harry Potter, like, what is their literature?
Hmm.
And like, I kind of just want to open that question to everything. Like, what is because I've also told you I've been playing DC Universe Online. What's the
Hmm.
literature in DC Universe Online? Well, I took a picture of something because they had like a Valentine's event where you
Hmm.
can collect movie tickets, and if you get all the
Ooh.
movie tickets, you get something special.
Hmm.
So here's some of the movie tickets of actual movies in the DC universe:
Okay. Okay.
The Three Racketeers, Sleepless in Star City,
Hmm.
52 Days of Summer, The 40-Year-Old Psychic, My Big Fat Atlantean Wedding, Nth Metal Linings Playbook, How to Lose a Hero in 10 Days,
Uh-huh.
Pretty Villain, Crazy Stupid Heroics,
Okay. Uh-huh.
The Amazonian Princess Bride, When Barry Met Iris,
Oh,
and
that's nice.
finally, Save Anything.
What?
Yeah. I just thought that was cool, man. I thought that was pretty cute,
Oh my God.
you know?
Yeah, that
So,
is.
in addition to Walking Dead on the Lost Island and Game of Thrones on the Lost Island, we're going to have another
Mhm.
podcast about fictional or literature in fictional settings. I bet you could write just like novels. You could write tomes on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I remember. Oh man, I don't remember. Like this had to be either like an Instagram or like a Tumblr page, but I remember following an account that was essentially just dedicated to like the fake movies that show up in movies.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So like whatever movies exist in that universe, like and just like finding like pictures of it. It's like, oh yeah, here's like from this movie, Notting Hill, like here are the posters for the movies that Julia Roberts is in, like stuff like that. um so yeah, or like in what was it, Last Action Hero, where Stallone is the Terminator and Terminator 2, stuff like that.
Hmm.
um so yeah, like I am fascinated by that. Which is it's a very niche thing for me, but I remember like what kicked it off, which is really weird. What kicked off like my interest in that was playing the video game of Scott Pilgrim versus the World that
Hmm.
came out right around the time the movie did, but it's all based on the comic art, and you could rent movies or like buy movies from the video store, and they gave you just like power-ups or something like that.
Hmm.
But they all had titles, so somebody had to sit down and write fake movie titles for different genres for this video game. And for some reason that was like the first thing that clicked in my head, like, hey, that that's a thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a thing that happens a lot in fiction. And then as I kept going, as I got older, it's like, yeah, like that's a whole, I feel like the art of making fake things
Hmm.
in movies, in literature, in whatever. That's a whole. I don't know. I mean, it is. It's a niche, but like, I'm just so fascinated by that.
Well, okay,
That's like
so
it's like the bad twin in Lost. It's like what
yeah, yeah,
like that exists. That's a book that doesn't really exist in our world.
it does now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it does now. That's the
Hmm.
thing. The
That's crazy.
influence of media on life.
Right.
Whoa.
So in our D&D campaign, which unfortunately Sam and I haven't been able to play in a very long time,
Very long time. We won't say how
Sam's
long.
character, Coral, the shark
Mm-hmm.
man,
Mm-hmm.
goes to a bookstore and he buys some books. So at that time, I kind of just had to come up with something real quick, and he bought a romance trilogy, a kind of gritty Western noir type book, and then like this seven set, like it's a box set of books, all by like this adventure writer, um, who they actually eventually meet. That was our
Mm-hmm.
last session.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, well, I got to go and like write those books. I didn't actually write the books, but I wrote like the synopsis, the synopsi of all those books. I'm like, first off, what are the titles? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Second, what the hell's going on? So I actually I took the time and I basically wrote kind of like what's on the back, like book jacket of it. And then so if Sam ever comes to me in game and says, "Hey, Coral reads this book. What's it about?" I'm like, "Oh, well, this grand epic romance that spans continents and all this stuff." And I get to tell him about that. Unfortunately, we haven't played since, so I all of that was for not. I think not, because I had fun. One day we'll get back to those characters, and Sam will figure out the crazy books he bought. But that's kind of the same thing. I had to come up with these fictional literature stories for our fictional world we're having adventures in.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a blast.
I can't believe that you just brought this up just to tell me again how I have no idea what these books or titles are. I don't know what they're about, and I'll only be able to find out if we play D&D.
We play D&D. Just so the record states, we're still playing D&D. I mean, we have our other podcast.
Just not with with the party.
Yeah, just not with that party. Yeah.
So party members, if you're listening to this, Paxton Pestis, let's get on it, please.
Hey,
I want to know.
Well, look. A lot of that is my schedule too, because essentially I work weekends. You do too. You just work a different day.
Yeah.
And yeah, work schedule.
I was trying to, be nice. I was trying to like shift it to other people to be like, hey, let's get on it.
I ain't doing that, especially since I'm running that game. I'm like, it just breaks my heart, man.
All right, that's
because
fair.
of my work schedule.
Other members, I apologize. I'm sorry.
All the freaking podcasting we're doing, that's all hours I have to spend editing.
So yeah, a lot of podcasting, yeah.
So yeah, a lot of it comes down to me, my schedule, which is a bummer, because I was having a lot of fun running that game.
Mm-hmm.
So to end it on a sad note, that's where we're going to leave you here.
Much like this episode.
I'm going to leave you in a pit of bodies.
You shot yourself. Yeah, you shot yourself with this. So.
Hey, man, I'm owning up to it. Oh, okay. We didn't talk about MVPs.
Oh, yeah. Locke.
Yeah, Terry Quinn for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Emerson did good, but I don't think we really saw anything new here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't want to really give it to him. Whereas last week, I feel like we had so many different MVPs. This week, I think it was just Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Damn. Well, okay. Next week, we'll see what happens. As we talk about season 3, episode 21, Greatest Hits, in which Jack and Juliet finally tell us what their freaking plan is. That's next week, guys. Until then, hit us up at hashtag Lost Legacies. And you can find me at Twitter at _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
So until next time, guys, get lost.
Get lost.